to be praying for Mark and his test results. And he got great test results that there's no cancer. So that is an answered prayer and a praise. So thank you, everyone, for praying.
Continue to pray for Cassie Hoffman, please. If there are no others, then we'll have a prayer song and a prayer afterwards. And would you please be standing?
My name is Josh Rager. I'm your Rager's son. If you don't know who I am, I spent the last year in China as an English
Kids
teacher.
can be dismissed right now.
Oh yeah, kids, yeah. You won't like me, I promise. All the energy in the room is left. Feelings. So I just got back from teaching in China. I was teaching English. I was teaching to university students in a city called Yantai. I was teaching sophomores in college. And I imagine that Like this is like a surprisingly similar context to me teaching them. Like I have not worn these pants, I have not worn these shoes since I've been in China, and since I've been in the classroom. And so it hasn't been that long, so it's surprising. But like I'm kind of in teacher mode now, you know, and it's like a bit of a transition into like a preacher mode. So I want to feel this time with the holiness that this brings, you know, but I recognize that God is both present here and in the classrooms. So I do ask for some of your participation in the same way that I would ask my students to participate. I thought about asking you to stand up and like everybody move forward, because my students would try this too. Like right, the first 3 rows would be empty, and everybody in the class is like in the far back. And I've got some boys in like the back corner who are like got their phone kind of slid in their desk. You know, it's like I know you. Like you're surprisingly similar to sophomores in college. So I was going to ask you to move forward, but like I know you got your spots and you're pretty comfortable with where you're at. So I do ask you to participate. So I'm going to have one thing I'm going to say that I want you to say with me. I do this with my kids in China. I would say, I say, you say. So I say, you say. So I would say something, for example, like God, I say, you say. God loves me.
God loves me.
Boom, you're perfect. It takes way less explanation than does college English. This morning, I hope that you're here. Like I love the fact you are here. I love the fact that you're here. I love it. Like I love that you came to church. Whether you came for Sunday school and you've been here for a while, or you just kind of like rolled in the last few minutes because you're sleeping in. I love it either way, and I hope you're here because you think this is a good thing, because you think high and lofty thoughts of both God and the church. I hope that's where you're at. If you're here out of habit, if you're here out of obligation, I kind of get that too. But I hope this is why you're here. And to be clear, let me explain why I'm here. Like not why I've been asked to preach, but like what I'm doing here in front of you, why I'm speaking. My goal this morning, what I hope to accomplish, is for me to frankly get out of the way. I don't want you to see me. I don't want you to hear me. I want you to see the text, and I want you to see the Lord and hear His word. That's my goal. So let me pray, and let me ask His presence and His blessing over this, and we can do that well. Father God, I ask that you would be seen and seen clearly, that our thoughts of you would be worthy of you, that we would place you in the highest position in our thoughts, that we would do unto you the highest things with our actions. And I ask that as I speak, that it's not my words that they hear, but it's your words. And as they see me, that they don't see me, they see you. Just in Christ's name I pray. Amen. Amen. I don't like being misrepresented. I don't know if anybody particularly likes being misrepresented, but I don't like being misrepresented. I don't like somebody else telling me or telling somebody that I believe something that I don't believe, or I act in a way that I don't think I act, or that like my motives are different than I would characterize them myself. That hurts me. If I feel misrepresented, I'm hurt. I think I'm actually most hurt if I feel misrepresented. You can say some pretty mean things to me. You know, you can check with my fiance. Like, I don't have a lot of emotions. I don't have a lot of feelings. So, like, I don't get hurt super easy. But if you misrepresent me, if you, like, slander my motives or my character, it's going to hurt. Like, that hurts me quick. And I think that we can collectively be pretty good at it. I think it's the heart of gossip. It's where gossip starts. Communicating something that you think might be true, which, in fact, is not true. The other person hurts. It's also why I think the people we're closest with, we often hurt the most often, and we can hurt the most deeply, is because at one level you're kind of always hearing and seeing how they perceive you. You're kind of constantly going back and forth, like, how do you perceive me? And if their perception of you doesn't line up with your perception of you, it's hurtful. It causes conflict, and it causes pain. So I can't speak for you, but me, and I'm assuming most of you don't like being misrepresented, and are in fact hurt when you're misrepresented. So this morning I want to say that maybe God is like us. Maybe God is hurt when we misrepresent Him. I think more accurately is that we reflect our Creator. So the very fact that we are hurt when we're misrepresented reflects the fact that our Creator is hurt when He's misrepresented. So my goal this morning is I want to elevate God. I want to de-elevate me, I want to de-elevate us, but I want to elevate God, and particularly our thoughts about Him. I want to lift up our thoughts about God to the highest possible place so we can think true and good things about Him. That's my goal this morning. I want to think true and good things about the Father. In the Old Testament, idolatry is this huge, pervasive theme that kind of covers a huge span of the Old Testament, where God's saying, like, don't be idolatrous. He sends the prophets, and the prophets have this, like, in unison, the prophets yell, like, don't be idolatrous. Like, God alone is king, nothing else. And A.W. Tozer, in his book, Knowledge of the Holy, says this: the essence of idolatry is entertainment of thoughts about God that are unworthy of Him. Entertainment of thoughts about God that are unworthy of Him. So, poor thoughts about God, bad thoughts about God, are not only the source from which idolatry comes from, but bad thoughts about God are in and of themselves idolatrous. They're bad. They hurt God. Romans 1:21 says this: for although they knew God, they neither glorified Him as God nor gave thanks to Him, but their thinking became futile. Their foolish hearts were darkened. But although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. They exchanged the glory of God they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings, birds, and animals, reptiles. 25. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie. Worship created things, made to look like humans, birds, reptiles, animals, rather than the one who created them. So this series of, like, admittedly idolatrous things all started with their thoughts. Their thinking became futile. This is where it starts. So here's what I'm here to say. Our thoughts about God matter. Our thoughts about God matter. To have more fun with it, you guys know the nursery rhyme, like, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. For the Father up above is looking down in love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see. I'm going to add a verse to that. I'm going to say, be careful, little minds, what you think. I say, you say. Be careful, little minds, what you think.
Be careful, little minds, what you think.
Didn't get so far. I won't sing the song, but this is where we're going to go. Be careful, little minds, what you think. So it's not only true of me, not only true of you as individuals, but it's true of us collectively. It's true of us as a whole. So the most significant thing about a church, or the church for that matter, is the church's thoughts about God, which in turn define her message about God. The church's thoughts about God define the church's message about God, which is, I think, the most important thing about the church. So what the church says about God, or for that matter leaves unsaid about God, is defined from the church's thoughts about God, which is how the world hears about God. The world hears about God from us, from the church. The church's message is defined by her thoughts. So thinking good thoughts is, I think, of the utmost importance. I think a low view of God is also really destructive to the gospel, both for ourselves and those who hear it. If we don't see God high and lifted up, if we don't see Him here, and in turn see ourselves here, the gospel loses its power. If we don't see how good He is and how broken we are, if we can't see that clearly, I don't think we can see the gospel clearly. And so, this is what I want to do. I want to put Him here, I want to leave us here. That's my goal. A.W. Tozer, again, referencing him in his book, Knowledge of the Holy, his first line, this small yet deeply profound book, his first line says this: what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. So my hope, for the remainder of our time, in the first service, maybe a little long-winded, so I'll try to do my best. But I need your help. I need you to participate. If you don't, I promise we'll be here till like 2 o'clock. I want us to become convinced that God is worthy of true and good thoughts. Are you with me? He's worthy of true and good thoughts. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to hang out in like one piece of the text. We're not going to go everywhere. We're not going to try to get a whole survey of all Scripture. We're going to hang out in one spot. My hope is we can understand what this text says about God's character, but also maybe give you a framework that you can do this yourself. Like you can ask these same questions and you can go do this. So I'm going to hang out one piece of text, and I promise you you're familiar with it. And this is the question. What does this text reveal about God's character? So keep that in mind. What does this reveal about God's character? Our text this morning, I'm going to turn there. Honestly, you probably don't even need to. It's John 3:16. John 3:16 through 18. Where we're going to be hanging out. John 3:16 through 18. So let's do this together. We're going to ask 3 questions. What does the text say? What does the text say? Good question. What do we say? What's the story you tell yourself? How do you think of God? And then what does the world think? What does the world say? How does the world think of God in this context? And what's our best guess? Because you can't know. You can't over-characterize what everybody thinks. So what's our best guess? What the world thinks. So this is where we're going. So John 3, chapter 16, and we're going to ask 3 questions. What's the world think? What do we think? What's the text say? I have 1 point. 1 point. What is it? I say, you say. Be careful, little minds, what you think.
Be careful, little minds, what you think.
Okay, keep it up. I have 1 point this morning. Be careful, little minds, what you think. But I have 3 points inside of that, like the Trinity. You know, like 1 and 3, 3 and 1. It's good, right? The imagery? I think so. Cool. So we've got 1 point, but really we've got 3 points. All right, so let's just read the text. John 3:16 through 18 says this. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through it. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. So, first question. What does the text say? What does the text say? So point number 1, thinking well about God. From John 3:16 through 18 is this. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. It's big and profound, I know. Maybe you would have never thought that had I not shared that deep scriptural insight with you. Point number 1, thinking well about God from John 3:16 through 18 is this. God so loved the world that he sent his only Son. So, that's what the text says. Next question. So what do we think? What do we often hear? I want to think of enemy. So if you can, picture an enemy in your mind. Picture an enemy living. Like a real enemy. I'm not talking like Bane from Batman or anything. Like a real enemy in your mind. Like whenever they speak, whenever they talk, like your blood like boils. You just want to throw a punch or something. If you can picture somebody in your mind, hopefully it's like not your spouse, if it is, I'm sorry. But who just makes you want to fight? And so I'm going to go to politics because politics is often really divisive and it's easy for me. So like maybe it's Trump, maybe you just hate Trump, and everybody else around you loves him, and you want to fight everybody because of it. Maybe it's Hillary, maybe you can't stand her, maybe it's Obama, maybe it's like AOC. You know, I don't know who your enemy is, but whoever this is, make sure you want to you just hear them talk. Like I'm going to fight somebody. Okay? If that's you, if you think that way, maybe, just maybe, your thoughts don't line up with the character of God. Maybe your thoughts aren't in tune with the way God has revealed himself. Because what God says, what the text says in John 3:16, which I think reveals God's character, is this. Point number 1, thinking well about God. John 3:16 through 18. For God so loved the world, he sent his only Son. So if your thoughts go to, like, I want to fight somebody, my blood boils, just hearing them talk, throw a punch, maybe you're not hearing Jesus clearly. He so loved the world. God loved the world so much that he sent his Son. So let that define the way you think. Maybe you're apolitical. Like maybe you just don't care about the political realm. What I'm saying means nothing to you. You don't know who Trump is. You don't know who AOC is. Maybe you're your own worst enemy. Maybe it's you. Maybe you say really bad things and mean things about yourself. Maybe you say like, I'm bad. Like I'm terrible. I've made some really dumb choices. I'm unloved. I'm unwanted. I'm a hypocrite. Maybe that's your message to yourself. And when you think about God, you don't think about the fact that he loved you so much, he sent his Son for you. If you think anything other than that, when you think of yourself, maybe your thoughts about God don't line up with his thoughts about himself. And in turn, his thoughts about you. Here's my advice. Let God's opinion, let God's thoughts about you define you. Let God's thoughts about you define you. and then let Jesus' death on a cross define his thoughts about you. Anything else, any other thoughts, risk misrepresenting him, which in turn hurts him, which is not a good place to be. So, let's move on to what does the world think? If we ask the world, how does he see this? If you went to anybody in the world, you said, okay, let's take politics, let's take death and violence and put it here. How do you think God sees it? What do you think God says about American politics? And again, if the world's answer, if your answer is anything other than he loves it so much he's willing to sacrifice his son for it, then you're wrong. You're just wrong and you're misrepresenting his character. Because he says, he reveals himself to be I love it so much I'm willing to sacrifice for it. Maybe I don't love what's happening, but that's why I'm willing to do something. Because I love it so much. Me, you, the church, we're the ones tasked with communicating at one level the Lord. Right? He reveals himself in Scripture, but his plan, his plan to let himself be known is us. It's the church. That's us. And so if we don't think clearly, we can't communicate clearly. If we're not communicating clearly, they can't think clearly. So my goal this morning is how we put him and our thoughts as high as he can be. So point number 1, thinking well about God. From John 3:16-18 is this: God so loved the world that he sent his son. I say, you say. God so loved the world that he sent his son.
God so loved the world that he sent his son.
I need the kids back. They don't have any energy. I say, you say. God so loved the world he sent his son.
God so loved the world he sent his only son.
Good. Let that define the way you think. Let that define the way you think. Let's move to verse 17. Verse 17 says this. Actually, that's what you're not teaching. Will somebody read verse 17 for me? John 3:17. Will somebody read that? Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world. So point 2, thinking well about God, in John 3:16-18 is this. So profound. Jesus did not come to condemn, but to save. What the text says. The Son did not come to condemn, but he came to save. So what do we think? When we think about God, do we think in our minds that he stands ready to condemn? If so, if our picture of him is him just waiting to condemn, waiting to say that was wrong, then you're misrepresenting him. Again, I don't know your enemies. I'm going to stick to big, hot button issues that are controversial because they're just more fun. Let's talk about abortion, right? So if a woman has had an abortion and the message she hears from you, or the message she hears from the church is anything other than Jesus, the Son, did not come to condemn, but came to save. If the message she hears is anything other than that, we risk misrepresenting the Lord. Hear me. I'm not saying there's no condemnation, so do not hear that. I'm not saying I am in fact indeed saying there is condemnation, but it is not primary. It's not what the text is getting at. We'll get there. But he didn't come to condemn. He did not come to condemn. He came to save. So if your thoughts don't lead with his heart for salvation, his heart of love, then you're misrepresenting him. Thinking well about God is important. So be careful with your minds. Think. Again, maybe it's not a hot button issue like abortion. Maybe it's yourself. Again, maybe the story you tell yourself is that Jesus is here to condemn. He is here to catch me when I mess up. I just got to work hard, and as soon as I mess up, he stands ready to be like, that was a mistake. He stands ready. And if that is your view of him, if that's your view of God, of Jesus, then again, I got good news. That's not it. He's not here to condemn. He's here to save. He's here to show you a better way. He's here to offer you a way out. He's here to renew and remake and restore. He's in the business of making all things new. That's what he's here for. And so if your thoughts are anything else, then you're misrepresenting him. The text uses the word save So I'll use the word save. He came to save, not to condemn. So allow that to be primary in your thoughts. He came to save. What's the world saying? I think the world's perception is formed by the church's thoughts and their words. And I think the world's perception of Jesus coming is unfortunately not to save, but to condemn. I think that the world might indeed argue that Jesus came to condemn. Because like what they so often hear is that this is wrong. This is also wrong. This is also wrong. Don't do that. You're wrong. And I think the world is in danger of misrepresenting the Lord. Again, I need to make clear that there is in fact condemnation, but it's just not primary. He came to save, make a new way, bring out of condemnation. That's where he's at. So point number 2 is thinking well about God. John 3:16-18 is this: the Son, Jesus the Christ, did not come to condemn, he came to save. I say, you say. Jesus did not come to condemn, he came to save.
Jesus did not come to condemn, he came to save.
Amen. That's a good word. I like it. You're the preacher to me now. I like it. Let's go to verse 18. Somebody else read verse 18a. So stop at the comma. 18a.
Whoever believes in him is not condemned.
Perfect. Whoever believes in him is not condemned. So let's take a minute and let's unpack the text, because it can get dicey. Let's unpack this word believe. Who believes in him is not condemned. Believe, in fact, I'll say I say, does not mean. It's like a lot of smarter people than me who have studied their whole lives and are like, this is what it is, and I'm just communicating on their behalf for you. The word believe means more than I'm affirming its existence. Right? Belief means more than that. I can say, like, I affirm that this music stand is here. I believe it's here. Like, I believe this music stand is here. But belief in Jesus, specifically in this word in John 3, means more than that. It's translated elsewhere as faith, hope, trust. These 3 words, faith, hope, trust. This is how it's translated. And so it carries with it this connotation of like allegiance. I will stand behind your ideology. I affirm this thing, this person, this idea. I'm affirming it, and it's all of its entirety. When it's translated into Hebrew, it has a connotation of like, let it be, or like listen to this, listen up, listen here, listen to this thing, listen to, if you listen to this, if you follow it, then it's this word believe. So it's more than affirming existence. It actually, in fact, means to like pledge allegiance to. And I don't want to push it too far. Like I don't want to move outside of the meaning of the word and put my own ideas into it. I want to let it define my ideas. But the word in Greek is like there's no problem because like it's an actual word in Greek and it makes sense in their language. In our language, we just don't have a word. It's happened all the time in China. Like they would speak to me in what they call Chinglish, and so they would speak to me in English, but using like Chinese syntax. And so the sentences would, like I understand it, but it would never ever be a way I would ever communicate something, you know? And so they don't have a word for yes or no in China. So it's like they would say have, not have. And so we would say, do you have? Like, do you have a cell phone? Like, yes. Well, they don't have a direct word for yes. So like have, not have a cell phone. You would say, have a cell phone. And so when China people would ask me, I'm like, they would text me, Josh, have, not have free time. And I couldn't, like, yes. No, but it had to be, like, not have or have. And so, like, the way languages work, in Greek, I'm spending way too much time here, just trust me. In Greek, this word believe, it means more than affirming existence. It actually means, like, I stand behind this idea. So to put it, like, to make it simpler, like, as I know how. I believe Jesus is the Son of God and is able to save the world. And it worked. It did it. He accomplished the thing he set out to do. Verse 18a. Whoever believes in him is not condemned. He's able to do it, and it worked. Able to do it, and it worked. So, the text says, through our belief, properly understood, that Jesus said, that Jesus saves. That's, I think, the heart of this text. Through our belief, understood here, That's like faith, hope, trust. He saves you. But that's not really a characteristic of God. That's not really thinking well about God. That's just like good theology. That's not what we're here for this morning. We're here to think well about God. And so my point here, point number 3, thinking well about God, John 3:16 through 18, is the Son is able to save. The Son is able to save. To make it easy for you, because I'm giving you a lot, I say, you say, mighty.
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 Good. Yeah, he's mighty. He's able to do this. He is, we're not. He is mighty, we are not. So what do we say? What does the world say? I think it sometimes get confused because, well, on the we are the world. So specifically in this area, and those of us living around, I think we can fall into 2 traps, different sides of the coin. So if you imagine a coin, one side is this. One side says if you affirm Jesus is real, then you're good. That's all you need to do. You just need to affirm that this thing exists, this music thing exists, and you're good. Like he signed your check because you affirmed him to be real. Doesn't matter if you listen to him, doesn't matter if you follow him, doesn't mean if you pledge allegiance to him. You think he's real? Cool, you're in. You know, like I decided he was real when I was 8, and so like therefore I'm good. That's one side of the coin that I think the world might think. On the other side, I know this is similar on the opposite, is like I have to do this thing. I have to not do this and not do this. And if I do this, I'm out. And if I think this way, I'm out. But I have to do this one thing. And so the other side of the coin is the same, like you must do something or not do something for that matter in order to get it. Not what the text says. What this does, saying I have to do something, it puts you in the position of Jesus. Jesus is able to say, he is mighty, we're not. We want to elevate him and leave ourselves here. This side over here, maybe it's the same, like maybe we're putting ourselves in the position of God again, where it's like, I saw my check, I did what I had to do. I affirmed his existence. Again, it's like we're putting ourselves in the position of Jesus. He is mighty, we are not. Verse 18b, I will read this. Verse 18, second part. But whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. Those who don't believe stand condemned already. I think this clarifies 2 things. The first, the first of which is like he's the only option. There's no other way. I think this clarifies 2 things. One is that he's it. There's no other option. It's not him, you're condemned. The second of which is that without him, you are condemned. So, like they have to go together. But this clarifies 2 things. One is that he's the only option, and 2 is that if you don't choose his option, you already stand condemned. Already stand condemned. Jesus came to offer salvation out of love, implying that there was something we needed to be saved from. If he saves us, it implies there's something we need to be saved from, which he is in turn able to bring about, and without him we are left unsaved. No other way of attaining this. He didn't come to bring condemnation. We're already here. Right? We already stood condemned. Already stood condemned. He came to bring the way, but it's only him. Only through him we're able to do this. So let me amend my third point. The last time we said point 3, think well about God from John 3:16-18 is, what was point 3? He is mighty. Yeah, he's mighty. Let me amend that and add one more word to it. I don't want to get too many words, but I think I say 2 words. That's all right. I say, you say, only he is mighty.
Only he is mighty.
That is 3 words. I'm really bad. I'm an English teacher, not a math teacher. Don't hold me to this. Only he is mighty. So point number 1 is, for God so loved the world, he sent his Son into it. Point number 2 is he didn't come to condemn, he came to save. Point number 3 is,
Only he is mighty.
only he is mighty. Only he is mighty. What was my 1 point? Not point number 1. I had 1 point, remember? What's my 1 point?
Be careful, little minds, what you think.
Reese in the back row. Thank you, man. At the beginning of the service, I was calling you out for like playing on your phone or something in the back row. He's listening. Be careful, little minds, what you think. My 1 overarching point. So, sorry, I'm not going to go into it again. In the last like 20 minutes, we've walked through John 3:16-18 and asked some basic questions. about the character of God? What does this reveal about the character of God? How do we think? How does the world think? And what does the text say? And I hope that I've shown that our thoughts about God are indeed important. Our thoughts about God are worth thinking. Thoughts about Him are worthy to be good. He deserves good, and He deserves to have good thoughts thought about Him. So if you're like a non-Christian, if you're not a believer, maybe you're on the fence, you're like, you're not sure where you stand, listen here. I hope that I have convinced you that your thoughts about God are both important, probably wrong. Probably wrong. Your thoughts about God are both important, very, very important, and probably wrong. And I hope that I hope that I've convinced you to allow God to define Himself. Just as I am hurt when I feel misrepresented, I think He's hurt when He's misrepresented. So just as I and you want the opportunity to represent ourselves accurately, allow Him the opportunity to represent Himself accurately. And His chosen method of representing Himself is through the text. So allow the text to define Him. Allow Him to define Himself. Don't allow your own thoughts about Him to define Him. Don't even allow my thoughts about Him to define Him. Allow the text to define Him. At least offer Him that. So if you're like not a believer, even if you're on the fence, even if you are a believer, here's my plea. Here's my plea. Like, give a good, honest look. Like, give a good, honest effort to allow Him to define Himself. Allow your thoughts about Him to be defined by Him. Make that your starting point. If you are a believer, which I'm imagining you are, because we are in a church service on Sunday morning, this is why it's important. Let's put aside the world, let's put aside the church as a collective, just think about you. I hope I've convinced you that your thoughts, your particular thoughts about God are important, and they do matter. And they are in fact not defined by your own ideas about it. If we have a poor view of God, like me, if you have a poor view of God, we are robbing God of His glory. We are robbing Him of His glory. We are de-elevating Him from His throne and lifting ourselves up. We are lifting our own thoughts, our own ideas about, even if they're about God, even if they're not about us, we're lifting our ideas about Him over Him. And if that's the case, that is by definition idolatry. By definition. Which is, in case you don't know what idolatry is, we just don't care to know about the Testament. It's not good. It hurts. It hurts the soul. It's not a good thing. Let's really quickly look at our thoughts have implications on both the church and the world. Our thoughts about God determine our actions and determine what we say about God, which determines what the church says about God, because we are in fact the church. And what the church says about God impacts the world, because the world hears about God from the church. And the church is defined through you. And you, at one level, are defined through your thoughts. And so, let me make this clear to you that your thoughts about God are important. Let me make this clear. I think we can do no greater good for ourselves, and for our children, and for generations to come, than to have good, clear thoughts about God and His majesty. To let that define and be our starting point. The clearer we see God, the clearer we can see ourselves. And the more clearly we can see ourselves, and the more clearly we see God, the more we recognize we need to get out of the way, and He needs to be the one calling the shots. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. I'll finish with this. Your thoughts are important because your thoughts determine your actions. Your actions determine your habits, and your habits determine your character. So if you don't like your character, you don't like the person you are, check your thoughts. Are you thinking true things about God? Are you allowing Him to be the highest thought in your mind? If you don't like your habits, you don't like the things you're constantly turning towards, check your thoughts. Are you putting God in the highest place? Are you allowing Him to define Himself, or are you defining Him and making Him work within your system? If you don't like your actions, you don't like the things that you do, again, check your thoughts because they define your actions. And this one's even kind of paradoxical, but if you don't like your thoughts, make you think that your thoughts aren't good thoughts, which is a weird thought to have. But if you have these thoughts, that my thoughts are actually not good thoughts, Check the Word. Check the Word. See if your thoughts line up with these thoughts. Check the Word. Yeah, Christ, can you guys go ahead and come on up? Maybe I'll give you some motivation to go up the stage quicker. Yeah. How do we elevate God? How do we elevate Him and not ourselves? And I think that we do that by thinking good things about Him. We put Him in the right place. We think good thoughts. So here's what I'll end with, and then I can invite Vern. I'll invite Vern up right now, and he can kind of offer an invitation. Here's one of the things. Be careful, little minds, what you think, because your thoughts are vitally important to both yourself, the church, and the world. Amen.
Amen. This is the time in our service when we invite anyone who would like to come forward and be baptized. As Josh says, Jesus is the only way. And if you have come to the point in your life where you're at that decision to allow Jesus to be the only way in your life, we invite you to come forward as the praise team's singing and join the rest of the believers here in the waters of baptism. Please stand as we sing.
Leave it all behind. Leave it all behind. Leave it all behind. Leave it all behind. He has what you need, but you keep on searching. Start on the world, but you keep on working. When you're running on empty, and you can't find the remedy, just come to the well.
sing this next song, and people who are serving, can you please come up to the front? Above all powers, above all kings, above all nature and all created things, above all wisdom and all the ways of men, you were here before the world began. Above all kingdoms, above all thrones, above all wonders the world has ever known, above all wealth and treasures of the earth, there's no way to measure what you're worth.
I'll be reading out of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 through 29. For I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's Communion influence upon feelings of assurance while also calling for an honest self-evaluation regarding our sin. They honor Jesus' death, but also his resurrection. They help us celebrate the forgiveness of our sins while reminding us of the ongoing struggle with temptation. The Lord's Supper stirs tears of repentance, but also smiles of celebration. It calls forth horror at the intensity of Jesus' suffering, yet also gratitude for what his sacrificial death provides for us. Possibly the most surprising paradox of all is that communion is a shared meal that has its deepest fulfillment and purpose in the individual heart of each participant. Though we partake in a group of people that may be quite large or diverse, ultimately we are taking a personal appointment with the Lord of the heavens who has invited us to meet him. The prospect of feeling alone in a crowd of people typically isn't appealing to us. But in this unique setting, it is a blessing beyond description. We are privileged to share a common bond with people of varied backgrounds, ages, ethnicity, and struggles, while still knowing we have a personal kinship of the Creator of this universe. We've exchanged knowing smiles with those passing the young ones, and with those seated next to us, yet still enter a solitary prayer closet to meet with our Lord. To celebrate the unifying power of the Lord's Supper, but ultimately, it's a time to be alone with God at the throne of grace. The Lord's Supper is a time of self-examination. It is a time of introspection, repentance, confession, and praise. It is time for new beginnings. It is time to be alone with God, no matter how many people are around us. Then, after meeting Jesus there, we can live with purpose and power among people who follow Christ and among those who need to know him. Let's celebrate solitude and a new perspective along with Christ. Pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being a kind and loving and forgiving God. We ask that you have us to take the sin that we have and to have us to turn away from it. We give Jesus all praise and glory. In Christ's name we ask. Let's pray before our offering. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the many blessings that you have bestowed on us. We ask that we have to give back to you, whether it be time or money or whatever. We ask that you have use this to further your kingdom. As your Christ name. Wednesday Impact will resume on August 21st. Back to school fair is Thursday, August the 1st at the Lions Hall. Registration is required by today. Contact the treasurer. There's a survey in the Wednesday for the Wednesday night meals in Bulletin. Please complete the forms and place them in the alternate rate. Contact person Lisa Phillips. There'll be a thank you lunch for Big Pastor and his family Sunday, the 18th of August. After worship, please bring food items to share. There's a volunteer opportunity. The OCC's lead person for Operation Christmas. Child contact, Operation Christmas Test. Contact the president. There's Tuesday night men's group at 7 o'clock. This week we're doing a study on biblical problem solving. And we'll have the question return and have a closing prayer.
John?
Yes, sir.
One other announcement. The Gastonade Fair Board this year has elected to have a Christian concert Thursday night. We're going to urge everybody to make it a point to attend to it, to show support for that. Concert is a group called I Am They. They've got several songs on the radio. Should be a really great time.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come to your house and to worship and serve you. We ask that you be with our leaders of this church. We ask that you be with the leaders of our country. We ask that you have us go out into the world and to not only tell your story, to live.
Would you please stand?